this notion that because of exactly that point, how we handle data, how we individually, societally, corporately make that trade-off between convenience, personalization, and privacy, that around the world there are going to be different data-based regimes, if you like. You could talk about the original American internet, you could talk about a GDPR European internet, and then you could talk about a Chinese internet potentially. So the internet splintering into that. How do you see that, Michael? Is one of those versions going to win, or again, are we moving into a kind of multimodal world where large organizations basically have to have different data policies for different parts of the world?
Well, I want to try to merge something that Desmond said with that question. First and foremost, the overarching thing is yes, we are entering into a cyber Cold War.
Yeah.
Europe clearly has fundamentally different views of privacy than most Americans do. And the Chinese mainland government clearly has, to be charitable, a more authoritarian and invasive view of personal privacy than either Europe or the United States or Latin America. But the phrase that you mentioned casually, I think, is particularly important, Desmond, and it's one that shockingly is not present in most of the Fortune 500 or Fortune 1000 organizations that I work with, is data governance. GDPR, whatever its flaws, and there are a lot of them, was a serious effort to address data governance in the context of privacy and commercialization. I think data governance in terms of value creation, personalization, privacy, that is a much more important theme. It's one that I think most legislators and regulators and litigators do a piss-poor job of appreciating and understanding. But the core thing is, I think we're seeing culturally, nationally, regionally, different views of data as a value, customization and privacy as a value, and I think the Splinternet metaphor, the Splinternet framing is the likeliest scenario over the next 10 to 15 years.
How do you see that, Soraya?
Well, to use your China example, I think of that as a horror story, a science fiction novel come to life. What's happening under the Xi Jinping regime right now, where individuals in China are given scores based on their ability to pay their bills on time, and all of this is saved in some master database, anonymous, that the government has full control over. You really can't write that script. It's out of Hollywood.
It's Black Mirror, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
It is.
The UK.
And yet, in the United States, we're not as far away from that reality as we think we are. There are 5 major technology companies that own that same amount of data that could consolidate conceivably, and we have no understanding at an educational level in the United States of how to protect our own privacy, how to understand it. And if there's not this language and this literacy around what digital privacy means, then how can we fight back if our government begins to pull in the reins?
Yeah.